So that just puts Turkey in perspective of the world. And you can see actually that it straddles Asia and Europe. Just a little bit of it is in Europe. There's a better picture. So it's the north part's on the Black Sea, the south part's on the Mediterranean, and the Bosphorus runs between, which we'll see. But you can see it has very important neighbors. Russia's not far away, and Georgia, Armenia, Iran, Syria, Iraq. So it's in a very strategic position, which is why the United States has always been interested in it. And right now, the situation between the United States and Turkey is not so good, a little tense for various reasons. So we started, of course, in Istanbul, and we didn't quite know what to do. We didn't have a good itinerary plan. We had Lonely Planet. And you can see that Armenia is over here. And somehow I thought, if you're in Turkey, then you could just sort of slip over and go to Armenia while you're there. And so we stopped in a travel store, whatever you call a travel agency. And I asked him, I'm admitting somebody here. What is going on here? Ken, are you doing this or am I doing this? I guess I did, but I'm trying to get out of it. Okay, so I asked him, how do we get to Armenia? He said, you can't get to Armenia. The borders are closed. He said, where are you going? And I said, I really didn't know. What's behind me? That's very strange. And he said, well, you have some places you'd like to see, and I mentioned a few places. He said, well, I can arrange a trip for you where I can arrange the hotels. I said, we just wanted modest hotels, authentic hotels. And I can arrange bus tickets for you. And so you'll know what the bus schedule is. You'll have a ticket. You'll have the chit to the hotel. Someone will meet you at the bus and take you to the bus whenever you're ready to leave. And we said, that sounds really good. And we did that. Fortunately, we did that because otherwise I'm not sure how we would have gotten around. Ken, what is the picture behind me? I don't understand that. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. So those are some of we made 9 stops. But the point of this map is that we covered a lot of territory. We went as far north as almost the Black Sea. We did not go to the east. And so someday I'd like to go to the east, which is a lot more conservative and different than the west. Went as far south, almost to the Syrian border here, which was very interesting, as you'll see. And then to the west, which is a lot more touristy and commercial, I think. And then back to Istanbul. And I'm saying Istanbul because I use a Turkish limousine service. And because I always like to know what's going on in Turkey, and they pronounce it Istanbul, so I'll try to do that. And of course, Istanbul used to be Constantinople, like the song said. So the Bosphorus Strait is between, divides Europe and Asia, and also Istanbul and one side or the other. And then further is the Golden Horn, which is a body of water that goes through the European side of Turkey, partly. So these are the cities we visited. Actually, you can't see the whole screen because we're all cluttering it up. Let's see, I'll put us up here. And you don't have to memorize these because we'll talk about each one of them. I hope this small screen you can see it. So here's some factoids that Turkey's between the equator and the North Pole. 97% of it is in Asia and 3% is in Europe. A lot of the land is forested. There's wetland. There's quite a variety of topography there. And its neighbors, as you could see from the map, are Middle Eastern, not Middle Eastern quite neighbors, but the food in those countries is very similar to the food in Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bulgaria, etc. I really can't see my slide. Okay, so, and I've shown slides from Georgia and Azerbaijan and Iran, and they're all very interesting countries. So Turkey's on the Mediterranean, the Aegean, and the Black Sea, and it imports 75% of its oil and natural gas, so it's quite dependent on other countries. They planned 3 nuclear reactors, but Turkey is a very active earthquake center. So it's not a good idea to make a lot of nuclear plants. What is going on here? Sorry, having a little trouble. The population is young, as in most of these Middle Eastern countries. It's multicultural, though most people are Turkish. There are Kurds who are considered the enemy in many places, certainly not in Istanbul, and Armenians, and everybody seems to get along fine to me. Most people live in the cities. The GDP is pretty good. It's number 18 in the world. The East is more conservative than Western Turkey. It's a democratic form of government that was part of the agreement when Turkey became independent, but it's become less democratic with Erdogan in it. There's a lot of problems now with Erdogan. There's 4 parties, and the PKK is considered Turkish terrorists. They are the Kurds. They have done some terrorist things, but they just want a separate state, or they want to be recognized. We met many Kurds, and they seem to be very fine people. to quote Trump. Why can't I make this go? Sorry. So this is something you might want to know. Although most Turks are Muslims, it is a secular country. That was, again, part of the contract when Turkey became a separate state, and that was Ataturk's doing, which we'll talk about later. So it's not a Muslim state, so there's no dress code set by the government, and women are free to choose what they wear, although modesty is helpful. Women do not need to cover their hair unless visiting a mosque. And these loose-fitting sort of pant kind of things are the things to take. According to Islam, it is forbidden for women to marry a non-Muslim, but it's not the same thing for men. On the other hand, if the woman is Turkish, then she will most likely transfer her culture to her children. So it does get perpetuated, and if you know Turks, they're very loyal to their country, which certainly is warranted. I think it's a wonderful country. I don't know why I can't make this go forward so easily. They speak Turkish. It's not an Arabic country, it's a Turkish country. It's about 83 plus million people, and the population is growing. It's a secular Islamic country. The government is a democracy. The currency is a lira. Public transportation is very good. That enabled us to get around in the towns and also between towns. I love the Turkish food, and the ice cream was very good, which is very important in a country. So here we are in Istanbul. That, of course, is the Turkish flag. Gosh, what is taking me so problem with advancing the slides? Sorry. Here we go. So that's a magnificent picture of Istanbul, which I didn't take. It's a very densely populated city. There's a lot of people. What did I say? Did I say how many? And these beautiful mosques dot the skyline. This was the hostel we stayed in. I think it was recommended by Lonely Planet. It was fine. Many of the buildings in Istanbul have a roof garden. And so from there you can see the mosques and the Bosphorus and the boats, which is lovely. And it's right in the middle of the tourist area, which is Sultanahmet. And so very easy to get around. Istanbul is on the Bosphorus, and the population is 15 million people. That's a lot of people. And as you can see, it's very densely built. There's the Bosphorus dividing the Asian part of Istanbul from the European part, with this wonderful Galata Bridge, which we'll talk about later, which has all these wonderful seafood restaurants on it. I did take one of these cruises down the Bosphorus, which was great. This was our first meal, and it was very good. Look, probably tastes better than it looks there. And this is about Turkish food. I don't know really one dish from another, except this is what it looks like. And there are Turkish foods available in San Diego, usually more in Lebanese restaurants than in, because there's only one Turkish restaurant that I know of. These are what they are. Of course, everybody knows kebabs and shawarma and delicious bean soup and the salads and things like that. And flatbreads, delicious. Transportation in Istanbul is very good. Just hop on the trolley, pay practically nothing, and you can get from one place to the other very, very quickly. So in the 16th century, Istanbul was considered the most civilized cosmopolitan city in the world. And I would say it ranks right up there now. When it became independent, 1925, Ataturk switched the capital from Istanbul to Ankara, which you'll see. And it was culturally and physically rehabilitated and westernized, I would say. It's now a very sophisticated, lively city. And Sultanahmet is the center where mostly tourists go, where I stayed. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. How do I make it see? So there's two outstanding mosques. One is, and they're both very old. Hagia Sophia is now a mosque. When I was there, it was a museum. Before that, it was a mosque. And before that, it was a church. And of course, since it was built in the, long time ago, I think 9,000 BC, it is considered one of the great works of Byzantine architecture. And it was a wonderful museum. And I'm sure it's a beautiful mosque now. And then there it is. It has 4 minarets, I think. And around these mosques are great gaiety and food and people with their kids. And it's a very cheerful place to be. Of course, a lot of tourists. There were anyway. Oh yeah, it was built in 527. So, and then it was converted to a mosque when Turkey became Muslim. And it was the largest cathedral in the world for 1,000 years until the Seville Cathedral was built in 1520. And then in 1935, it became a museum. That is when Ataturk tried to secularize the country. And you can see the interior is magnificent. There's no pillars in this mosque. Can you imagine that it was built in 527? And it's so amazingly elaborate and well built. So when the Turkish Republic recently, and that's Erdogan's doing, re-establish it as a mosque, it got a lot of strong opposition from all these places. There it is. And as you'll see, women can dress in any number of ways. And here's a very modern but traditional dress of these two women. It's the only time I saw anybody wearing yellow. Very attractive these women are. That seems to be her child. There's a fountain in the back. It's not raining. And this is the other mosque, the Blue Mosque, the Sultanahmet Mosque, which was built in the 17th century, the beginning of the 17th century, and is known as the Blue Mosque. And Sultan Ahmet commissioned the mosque, and he wanted to rival the Hagia Sophia and surpass it. It's debatable that that's true. It's the only mosque in Istanbul that has 6 minarets. And that was a little bit of show-offishness, which was condemned later on, but the 6 minarets stayed. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's wonderful to have a city like that with a mosque, like 2 mosques like that. There it is again. And you can see it certainly from the rooftops all over Istanbul. There's a women's part. We didn't go to the women's part, it seems to me. We went into the regular part of the mosque. We sat on the carpets, which were very comfortable, not austere like this. People were very friendly. People were moving around. Their kids were running around. We talked with people on all sides of us, some tourists, some Turks, and it was a lot of fun in there. We must have spent an hour just sitting there watching beauty. I mean, it's such a beautiful place. And then it was so much activity and so much fun to talk to people. There's the interior of it. There's 20,000 handmade ceramic tiles, which are blue, which is why it's called a Blue Mosque. And of course, like all mosques, it's carpeted. And there's no chairs or anything. So it was a wonderful place to sit and relax. In fact, I found everywhere I went in Turkey, I was looking for a mosque just to sit and relax and meditate. I like mosques. There's nobody hanging by their arms and no torture and no thou shouts and thou shalt nots. And it's just a peaceful place to be. Of course, many countries don't permit women to be in mosques. Some do and some don't. And many countries don't permit non-Muslims to be in mosques, but Turkey's very loose about that. Here's part of it. And as you can see, people are eating and having a great time around there. Good stuff too. They're cheerful, friendly people. Here's some kids going to school, some girls, and about 35% only finish high school. 9 years of school are required, and a quarter of the high school graduates find a place in university. It's pretty low, but I think because there was any full employment, I'm not sure there is now. Still 85% literacy, which is pretty good. Eastern Turkey brings down the averages because there's less educational opportunities there. Kids look very alert, well-fed. So the whirling dervishes are a wonderful thing to see. And as a form of Sufi meditation, began by Rumi, the poet Rumi, in the 13th century. Dervishes have been known as sources of wisdom, medicine, poetry, enlightenment, and witticisms. And it's a good tourist attraction, but still a solemn form of meditation, I would say. Oops, that's a building in another city, but pretty. So there they go. And that's the music accompaniment. I'm not sure what the significance of those hats is. I had some videos that Ken was nice enough to make for me of whirling dervishes, but because I have so many other slides, I've decided to omit them. So there's Erdogan, and a little bit of history. The Republic was established in 1923 as a break-off from the Ottoman Empire, and Mustafa Kemal became the Republic's first president, otherwise known as Ataturk, which means father of Turkey. He was quite a man, and he introduced many reforms aimed to transform the old religion-based and multi-communal Ottoman constitutional monarchy into a Turkish nation state. It would be governed as a parliamentary republic. Turkey joined NATO in 1952 as a bulwark against Soviet expansion in the Mediterranean, but it seems not to be working very well now. And it's a real question about whether Erdogan is going towards Russia, or is in the West, and whether he would defend other NATO countries. It's a little bit of a problem. There were widespread protests in 2013 that you probably read about because of anti-government dissent against Erdogan to some extent. There was a coup. Of course, we've had a coup here. And the government carried out mass purges. You may remember that hundreds of protesters were jailed, and some are still in jail. They wanted more freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, and more broadly defending the secularism of Turkey. And some Muslims were also protesting other things. So in May of 2013, the protest was suppressed with tear gas, and the police were widely condemned for the way they handled it. It's a problem in Turkey. Erdogan has become much more tyrannical than he was when he first started, when he was quite wonderful when he first started. In Sultanahmet, if you walk around at night, there's a lot of things to do. And one of them is sort of this open air platform where people come up and sing and dance and recite poetry, and you can sit in the audience and order drinks, no, not drinks, well, drinks, but not alcohol, and food. And this was a group of 4 men dancing, and one little man who wanted to learn how to do this. It was very, very fun. And you could smoke shisha, which I learned how to do when I lived in Egypt, and I love to do it. But I have to say that it's also known as a hookah or water pipe, and it's fruit-flavored tobacco, which is heated and the smoke goes through the water. But it's not considered very healthy, and the water does not filter out the toxic ingredients in the tobacco smoke. So it is not a good thing to do, but I like to do it. And especially nice to do in a group where you pass around the shisha, and it's very sociable. Here's a woman making bread, flatbread, and in the corner is a cradle where she could put her baby, and it sort of hangs from there, and she can swing it around. And this is a picture of the cradle, and just a sample of what I think is magnificent Turkish patterns and weavings and designs. I just love the patterns. I think, anyway, I forget how the cradle is sanitized, but it's not important. Here's a street in Istanbul. Turkey is one of the great shopping centers of the world. Bali is another, Uzbekistan is another, and Turkey definitely ranks at the very top. Here's one of these cruise ships on the Bosphorus. and people fishing off the side. I showed this picture because the Bosphorus has a lot of small ships, and then in comes a big cruise ship, and it's gross. It's really horrible because it just dwarfs all these other ships that go up and down the Bosphorus, and the Bosphorus is crowded enough without these cruise ships docking there. But then who am I to say? This is, oh no, I'm not showing that. It's one of the videos that I borrowed from somebody. So the Bosphorus must permit passage of free shipping because there's a treaty that says they must, and most of the ships are small, like this cruise ship that I was on. At that time in 1936, there were just a few ships, and now there's 45,000 ships a year that go through the Bosphorus, with a 40% growth predicted. There's many tankers and there's serious accidents there. I didn't see any, and it looked very fun to me to go up and down the Bosphorus. Beautiful sight. Our first stop was Safranbolu, which most people don't stop there. My little arrow shows where it is, sort of the northwest part of Turkey, very close to the Black Sea, which is here. This is Russia, by the way. This is Georgia. This is Armenia. I was on the Black Sea in all these three of these places. So Safranbolu, our guide, the travel agency, we don't have a guide now, but the travel agency suggested we stop there, and it is a World Heritage Site. And it was charming and wonderful. It's about 120 miles north of Ankara, which is about here. And because it's a World Heritage Site, because of the many historic buildings with 1,008 registered historical artifacts, including a private museum, 25 mosques, 5 tombs, 8 historical fountains, 5 Turkish baths, and I went to one of them. Unfortunately, I didn't have my camera with me because I didn't have any pockets, because in a Turkish bath, you don't have pockets. Anyway, and 3 caravanserais, a historic clock tower, etc. It's a lovely little town. Very glad we stopped there. And it was started in the 13th century. And an important caravan stop on the east-west trade route, which I guess is called the Silk Road. But in any case, a caravanserai is where the merchants stop. They park their camels and their horses on the bottom floor. Then they have like hotel rooms on the top floor, and they can eat there, and they can spend as much time there as they need to rest up. And now many of them are hotels. I stayed in one, but it was not in Turkey, it was in Azerbaijan. And the old mosque and the old bath, I think I went to the old bath, were built in 1322. Can you imagine? So 17th century Safranbolu's architecture was influential in the rest of the country. There's saffron. And as many of you have tried to buy saffron, you know it's a very expensive spice, I guess it would be called. Here's a couple riding through Safranbolu on their tractor. Here's a beautiful silver store. And a lovely outdoor cafe. 3 guys. And I think this is our hotel, I'm not sure. It's a very hilly town. They have a lot of grapes growing. So as you walk through the streets, as in other countries like, well, forget that, you can see the grapes growing. These happen to be white grapes, and these are grape pickers, and they just use the grapes as, she has some red grapes, and they make wine from their grapes, or they just eat them like he's doing. And of course, we were offered grapes, and they were lovely. People are very hospitable there. Here's some more street scenes, spices, grains, homemade bread. I mean, ready-made, fresh bread is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so just to show you what the inside of some of these Turkish baths look like, these are not my pictures, as you can imagine, because you don't get to put your iPad in your pocket because there are no pockets. Okay, so this is very elaborate. These are, old places and beautiful places. And these are the marble slabs. And then these are rooms where you go and take a shower, get hot water, and here she's pouring hot water over herself. And then you lie down on these marble slabs. That's the part I didn't like. I was not comfortable doing that. There's a very elaborate one. I'm not even sure if that was mine or not. My friend Joan often didn't go with me. She wasn't very adventurous. So, but I did enjoy these things. So there's a man being massaged by another man on the slab. And if you've ever laid on a marble slab, it's not comfortable. The massage is nice. So you get exfoliated with like a Brillo pad thing. So the top layer of your skin is supposed to come off. And that doesn't feel too good either, except at the end, you feel so like a new person. I did anyway. And then you get soaped down and you get a regular massage, which is good. Oh, no, I think we'll skip that. Oh, yes. I thought you might like to see what Rick Steves has to say about Turkish baths. Oops, missed it. Let's see, am I doing this right?
The up, down key.
Oh, the down key, yeah. Or the up key or something.
Down key or the head.
The down key. Not working. Well, sorry. Anyway, Rick Steves went to a Turkish bath, and it's a short film of him being in one. He's a very serious guy, so it's not very funny, but there are some very funny ones that you can see on YouTube. And he talks about the massage that feels like Brillo pads. Not quite, but pretty close. And of course, you're not wearing anything. Well, maybe you're wearing a little something around your waist, a towel, I guess. The whole experience to me was amazing. I really felt like I've never felt before or since, like a new, free person. It was wonderful. Here's a guy selling jewelry, guy selling souvenirs or something. And this is the edict of making Safranbolu a World Heritage Site. This is a very easy city to miss going to, but very well worth going to. So the next stop was Ankara, and our travel guy said, well, most people don't like Ankara very much. It's a capital city and not that exciting. Well, of course, I like everything, and I loved Ankara because I learned so much about the history of Turkey and about Ataturk. So I was really glad that we stopped in Ankara. The population is 4.3 million people, so that's alone makes it worth seeing. And it's the Anatolia Museum is there, the Citadel area, and the Ataturk Mausoleum, which I found just fascinating. That's a Capitol building. So that's Ataturk. That's his name that he got after he became president. And his name is Mustafa Kemal. We have a person working here at the V whose last name is Kemal. I asked her if she was related to Ataturk. She said she didn't know. It was her husband's name. Anyway, he was commander of the Ottoman troops at Gallipoli, which was a bloody war which essentially freed Turkey from the Allied occupation and also separated it from the Ottoman Empire, and all that thanks to Ataturk. So he defeated Britain, France, New Zealand, and Australia, called the Anzac troops. And they have a particular interest in Gallipoli because they sent troops there and they lost thousands of men. Totally, there was 500,000 casualties. And it defined the borders of modern Turkey. Foreigners were asked to leave or sent out, and it was the end of the Ottoman Empire. Very important time and very important man. This is one view of his mausoleum and the grounds around. There's the mausoleum. And of course, Ataturk is the founder of modern Turkey. I would predict he would never win an election in Turkey now, because modern Turkey has not become very modern, sorry to say. They still celebrate his death day, and it's still a crime to say anything bad about him, but I just don't think his ideas are that much respected now. So, for example, so numerous Turks attend marches and meetings in memory of Ataturk on the 10th of November, day of his death. Famous words on this billboard. This is why I don't think he would win an election, even in here, in the United States. My moral heritage is science and reason. He was very pro-women's rights, very pro-science. He changed the Turkish writing to Arabic writing so people could read it. I'm not saying this right, but this is not written in the Turkish alphabet. It's written in an Arabic alphabet. Am I saying that? And he did a lot of progressive things that I don't think would fly these days. So he was an enlightened despot. He set up mechanisms of democracy, secularism. He was a bit of a despot because he wanted things to go his way. And of course, in his case, he was right. He eliminated the Greeks, Kurds, and Armenians, many of whom are back again. He reformed the dress code. He outlawed the fez. He changed the language around, abandoned the Arabic script. He rejected the Middle East and looked more toward the West. He instituted universal suffrage, men and women, and people didn't have surnames, got surnames. He was 57 when he died in 1938, and it remains a crime in Turkey to insult or criticize him. Due to his military and political accomplishments, Ataturk is regarded as one of the most important political leaders of the 20th century, definitely in my book. So some 180,000 Allied forces took part in the Gallipoli campaign at a cost of more than 250,000 casualties, including 46,000 dead. And they lost. I mean, Turkey had its casualties too, but most of those casualties were foreigners who, for one reason or another, wanted to take over Turkey. There's a big cemetery at Anzac Cove where the New Zealanders and Australians are buried who fought there. And Ataturk said this at the cemetery: "To us, there's no difference," this moves me, "between the Johnnies and the Mehmets. You, the mothers who sent your sons from faraway countries, wipe away your tears. Your sons are now lying in our bosom. After losing their lives in this land, they become our sons as well." So this is Erdogan, elected in 2002. It's a pro-Islamic party. There was a clue when his wife was veiled during the inauguration. He did amend the Constitution to ban the death penalty. Maybe that'll happen here. He did grant rights to Kurds. He did punish human rights violations. He was an excellent president at the beginning. He's not so good now. And he was eager to have Turkey join the EU, which I don't think happened. He's now become less tolerant of dissent, more militaristic, less supportive of NATO, and more dictatorial. This is a current analysis of what's going on, which you may be interested in. Despite Ankara always being appeased and privileged by the US, It appears that patience over Erdogan's unilateral actions have come to an end. Erdogan will attempt to pivot his country more toward Russia in response to increasing American pressure. And that was Obama, that was Trump, and it's probably going to be Biden now. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. Moscow may allow this to a certain degree to cause a further split in the redundant, and that's not NATO alliance, but it will also have limits in tolerating Erdogan, who's become very independent. Turkey will celebrate in 2023 100 years since the foundation of the modern republic. But by then, Ankara could be more isolated than ever, as the US and Russia may no longer want to play Erdogan's games. And then my prediction is that Ataturk cannot win an election in Turkey. So things are not so good with Erdogan. Here's some gypsies that were hanging around sort of a shopping area in Ankara, and some beautiful antique stores, furniture stores, a beautiful restaurant on top of a hotel in Ankara. And our next stop was Cappadocia. Many of you have been there and know about it. And it's famous for these fairy chimneys or geological formations that are very interesting. I'm not sure what they're made of, but it's very soft. So there's a lot of things carved in there, like hotels, like old churches, like houses are carved in this mountainous terrain. It's in eastern Anatolia. It's about as far east as we got, actually. And it dates to before Christ. It's very old. It's volcanic formation, sedentary rock formed into houses, churches, fairy chimneys, they're called. The underground churches were when Christianity was just starting maybe it was not just starting, but it had residual in Turkey after the Ottoman Empire it became Islamic. And the churches were built underground so they wouldn't be detected. And you'll see that they're quite elaborate. And the whole area is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is from Istanbul to Ankara to Cappadocia. And of course, we stopped around here to go to Safranbolu. And these are the fairy chimneys. The terrain is amazing, and you can see how full of holes they are. And some of them are caves, some of them are habitable, some of them are historic, some of them are just nothing. This is a tourist attraction. It's an old, ancient, I guess, church. You'll see some of the decoration there. Here's a guy selling natural food. This is a dancing that we went to. Here you can see the hotels. This is a hotel, I think, built in to the rock, and these are different, I don't know what they are, caves or churches or something. And more of these amazing civilizations in these geological formations. She doesn't look too happy. She's veiled. I mean, her face is covered. That's quite unusual in Turkey. Unless she's wearing a mask for COVID, but I think it was pre-COVID. Cats. These Turkish patterns to me are absolutely beautiful and endless. And at some point I had bought enough Turkish rugs myself, and I was writing to people saying, do you want me to buy you a Turkish carpet? So I did send out a few. I hated to let them just sit there unbought. This guy I love carpet salesmen, and I love to be in carpet stores. And this guy rolled out this piece, which I had just recently been to Africa, and I thought, this is very African looking for a Turkish carpet. So I bought it, and there it is in my living room. I love it. She's selling delicious, like cupcake things. And the ice cream is very good, highly recommended, which is very important in this civilization. The wine's very good. The sheep make very nice carpets and good lamb chops. We were lost finding our hotel, and we encountered these two little girls. You can see how alert and smart looking they are, and healthy looking. And they led us back to our hotel. They were adorable, and they spoke some English. This is a restaurant we found one night, or I think maybe I just went by myself. And it was fun. A lot of, I don't know if you can do this now with COVID, but just people sitting around, maybe drinking wine, I'm not sure. Being a Muslim country, I'm not sure, but coffee maybe. This looks like a coffee maker. And dancing and playing music, and Turkish carpets hung on the walls and on the floors, and as upholstery for the chairs. Dancing, a lot like Greek dancing, you know, when men dance that way in Greece. One of the hotels, I guess a hotel you'd call it, I'm not sure. It was a room that we had that was made, got for us. And it was in the middle of rocks and everything. And it was one of these caves that was carved out as a sleeping room. And it was quite comfortable, but hard to get in and out of. So I left Joan sleeping and I wandered around the area, which was pretty rocky and hard to walk around. But I came to a small little town. It was early in the morning. That's a local mosque, that is. And went into this mosque, as is my wont, and sat down. And I fortunately had a covering for my head, or maybe there was something to put on my head, I don't remember. And I was there for a while, maybe a half an hour. And this nice young man came out, introduced himself, welcomed me, and he was the imam. And he spoke some English. We had a nice talk. It was very nice. We went to a Turkish folk dance thing, and this is where, if you want these kind of pants, this is a good place to buy them. Anyway, this is fun dancing, men and women, but not together necessarily. Here's some more of these amazing geological formations. It's very common, and we didn't do it, to take a balloon ride in this area. We were in Gorim, but it's all called Anatolia. And it must be a spectacular thing to do. I can't remember why we didn't do it. Here's another bread maker, flatbread. We went on a tour of a pottery factory and a few other things. I don't know if you would call this pottery or fine china or what this was, but these are all handmade plates. They were absolutely gorgeous. Here's a detail from one of the plates and another one. Can you imagine? It's just beautiful. Another detail. That was the first plate I showed you. And we went to a carpet factory. These women are weaving carpets or hangings. I think carpets. In many countries, they're young girls, and I'm not sure they aren't young girls in Turkey, but these are not young girls. Cat, this cat, Mr. Blacknose, seemed to enjoy himself. It was sort of a library there. He was a good reader, I think. This is a little bit like the room that we had. Ours was not open to the elements, but this was like a living room where you could sit in the sofa in the middle of a cave. These are the evil eye kind of charms. I sort of found them first in Egypt, and if you hang them on your door, it keeps away the evil eye. So here's a whole tree that will keep away the evil eye. This may be one of the hotels we stayed in the ferry chimney End cave. Oops, here's grapes. White grapes. Here's a nice friendly woman that we saw who might have been a tourist, I'm not sure. This is a fireplace in that hotel that was sort of a carved out of rock place. This is some of the paintings in these early Christian churches, these are just two, but they are quite remarkable. And they have lasted all these years. And they are painted on rock by these early Christians. Here's a form of carting oranges around. Turkey's so nice because it's so loose and informal. Not everywhere, but these places. So there's Joan, my friend, and we somehow got on a tour. I think maybe this travel agency originally arranged this for us to go to Urfa, which is southeast of Turkey, and very interesting and very ancient. And on the way, we ate this Turkish pizza. I first encountered Turkish pizza when I was taking a boat from Greece to Izmir, and I found in Lonely Planet a place to go for Turkish pizza. And I found one of my Turkish busmates, he wanted to go with me, so we both found Turkish pizza. Pretty good stuff. So this is the ancient city of Haran, and this is Sanli Urfa, or just plain Urfa here. And this is Syria. So we're practically on the Syrian border here. I love Syria, but this is a very conservative part of Syria. This is a very conservative part of Turkey. And we were told that if we go there, we must cover our heads or they will throw stones at us and they will pull our hair. So we were very careful to not do anything drastic. And I want to point out this scarf because you'll see that quite a bit in Urfa. But first we went to Haran, which is an ancient city of mud huts. Pretty sophisticated mud huts. Very hot there. So these were good. They insulated you against the heat and protected you against the cold. So the houses with conical domes in Haran have a history of about 150 to 200 years. That's all, because this area is much older than that. And were built with bricks gathered from the ruins of historic Haran. They are constructed on prismatic bases, which are square or nearly square. Dome's height is 5 meters maximum, and they were built with 30 to 40 rows of brick. The houses are quite spacious inside because every dome is connected with others by arches. It's cool in the summer and mild in the winter. These houses are suitable for the climate of the region. This is the interior, decorated. And they had costumes from the old times. I guess they were authentic, I don't know. And we were allowed to try them on. That was fun. And we could sit on these carpets and we got a little instruction about Haran. This is the chimney, since the was heated by wood burning stoves. This is more stuff that we could try on. Somehow I don't think these were authentic costumes, but who am I to know that? This is the view of Urfa as we drove in. It's sometimes called Sanli Urfa because it means Urfa the Glorious, or City of Prophets. Presumably it's where Abraham was born and grew up. And it's here in the scheme of things in the southeast part of Turkey. So 2 million people live in Urfa. It's not a small town. And it dates back to 9,000 BC, 9,000 BC. And it's where Abraham grew up, as I said. It's presumably. Its unique cuisine is an amalgamation of the cuisines of the many civilizations that have ruled in Urfa, and it has an amazing history, as you would imagine, dating back that long. So dishes carry names in Kurdish, Arabic, Armenian, Syriac, and Turkish, and are also prepared in a spicy manner. We ate at a couple of Urfa restaurants, which I don't remember there being that different, but I guess it was. This is the Pool of Abraham. I guess he used to swim here. I'm not sure. This is a guy. Now, notice the scarf on his head, and notice the scarf on that I have here. That's the scarf. And a lot of people wear these scarves. I'm not sure what the significance of it is, but they're very beautiful. You can see. And inexpensive, I might add. So we were told to get these robes and make sure we were covered. I didn't get quite covered when this picture was taken, but it is not a joke. You do not run around in shorts and uncovered and stuff in Urfa, or you will be stoned. Here's a guy selling breakfast. Little guy too. This is the market. The market was very nice and exciting and places to eat. Here's a guy with a blue scarf on his head. He was a lot of fun. He followed us around. She is a very serious lady. That was our little, I mean, there's a lot more to say about Urfa, and I didn't have enough slides, but I have plenty of slides. But so we were out after, I think, 1 or 2 nights there on the way back to Anatolia. And this is a caravanserai that is in ruins, essentially. But there are a few that we didn't see them, but that are being used now as hotels. Oh, I showed him before. Here's a group of people at Abraham's pool visiting. Oh, we saw him too. So here's the scarves. These are very serious women. They remind me of the women in Greece sometimes, the widows who always wear black and look very judgmental. Here's the Urfa man from about 9,000 BC in the museum there. This is a huge dam, major dam. I'm not sure which dam it is, but this is an article. Turkey's dam building spree continues at steep ecological cost. That's true of a lot of dams around the world, by the way. China too. Nearly 90 miles of the stark Tigris River will soon be turned into a vast reservoir as Turkey completes the massive elusive dam. While the government touts the project as a source of carbon-free electricity, which it is, it will displace 80,000 people and threaten a host of species. And that is the problem with dams all over the world. And the International Monetary Fund funds a lot of dams which have questionable utility. This is what the countryside looks like around there, which will be flooded if it's dammed, of course. And here's sheep, which definitely have the right of way. As we're getting close to the city, not the city, a city, you see these interesting apartment houses springing up. And also, I love bus stops in Turkey. They always had a cafeteria with wonderful food, especially the lentil soup in the bus stops. I thought was unsurpassed. And also very good souvenirs, very reasonable. So I love bus stops. And some of them had baklava, and there were other places that had lots and lots of baklava. Delicious. So these are not elegant apartment houses, and they look a lot like the Russian apartment houses built on the outskirts of cities in Russia. So we're headed toward Antalya, which is as much of a contrast to Urfa as you can imagine. It is a Turkish resort city with a yacht-filled old harbor and beaches flanked by large hotels, gateway to Turkey's southern Mediterranean region known as the Turquoise Coast, for its blue waters. And there are remnants there from Antalya's time as a major Roman port, but not my cup of tea, this area. Very beautiful. But see, this is what you see there. That's not a boat, that's a hotel. And this is where it is. It's in the southwestern part of Turkey on the Mediterranean. I would not stay in one hotel if they gave me a room, but that's just me. But they're very charming streets where you can shop and eat. Oh, I have to wear my Antalya scarf because the shopping was good. And I've seen people with the scarf, but they say they got them elsewhere, but mine definitely came from Antalya. I think that's our little hotel, little restaurant. I think that's him carving up some feta cheese for us. Lots of boats, including yachts. It's ancient fortifications here around the city. There's a hostel up here. Marvelous shops, marvelous things to buy. There's a view from on top of Antalya. You can see the old fortifications. Crowded beaches. They weren't crowded when we were there, but they could be. It does get pretty hot there. Very touristy. Here's another hotel, which I wouldn't stay in if you paid me. And some other interesting places, and you can see how mountainous it is. And an old mural. And a lovely buffet, delicious yum yum. And a lovely outdoor garden. Music, which I could always find at night. Joan didn't usually go with me, but I usually wander the streets looking for music at night. And found it. Tourist dancing. Also found a mosque. Another beautiful street. This is a cleaning lady who was stealing a cigarette smoke on the job. Another beautiful woman. Fethia is a resort area too, but it's not as fancy as the one we just saw, whichever that was, Antalya. A lot of yachts parked there. Nice place to walk and shop and eat. And some ancient ruins buried in the mountains. If you remember in Jordan, what am I thinking about? Anyway, my mind's going. We had a hotel, a little modest little sort of bed and breakfast on the hill, and that was our view from our hotel room. And there's a lot of solar heating there. Sculpture in the city. This is an old ruin that we went up to see. And this is a view of a stonework, beautiful stonework that was there. If you go to Tunisia, there's a lot of stonework and a whole museum devoted to stonework. So this is Ephesus. Practically everybody who's been to Turkey has gone to Ephesus. Of course, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And it's located in the county of Selçuk, where we stayed for a while, I think. It was once the trade center of the ancient world, a religious center of the early Christianity, and today an important tourism center in Turkey because of these amazing ruins. I'm not a ruin person, but these were very interesting. Amazing amphitheater that was built thousands of years ago. So founded in the Bronze Age, and important from ancient Greek times and contained the temple of Aramis, etc., one of the wonders of the world, etc. That is amazing. And of course, the ubiquitous outdoor cafes, which were so pleasant. It's a fishing place, and so there was fresh sardines and fresh vegetables. Don't you love those colors? I do. And another sort of walkway that you can go down by the sea, and there's restaurants and people selling food and people eating all along the way here, covered, because it does get hot. And sort of a marketplace where people are selling honey and other wares. And a lot of people took balloons over Antalya, the whole area there too. That could be very interesting because of the ruins, especially. Very nice place to park your yacht. So a lot of people took golettas. What happened to my caption? These are boats that are fitted for, we just went on one for a day, but you could go, there we go, charter. You could charter or rent one for a week. You could go down the whole turquoise coast. And they're very well fitted out, very comfortable. And it's a very popular thing for tourists to do when they're there. So this is, we took one for a day. I can't remember if John went with me or not. But there's diving, swimming, and you can see tourists are there. Okay, here's a guy who's going into a tube and is going to come out the other end into a dive into the Mediterranean. Look, came out a young man. Here's some fish we had on board. Here's people enjoying themselves. Again, not my cup of tea particularly, but there I am, but still all dressed in my jeans and everything. So I was reading Orhan Pamuk as I was traveling, and he is a Nobel Prize winner, Turkey's, I think, most well-known author, and not very popular among the elite and the governing bodies in Turkey because he was tried for anti-Turkish activities. And he talks a lot in his books about what happens to you if you don't toe the line. He's written a lot of books. Snow was the one I was reading. My Name is Red, The Black Book, etc. He's a lawyer, he lives in Istanbul. There I am reading Snow and enjoying. It's so easy to enjoy there. Here's back to Istanbul, where you can get Turkish Viagra. I'm not sure what that was, dates, figs, whatever. This is the Grand Bazaar, one of the largest and oldest covered markets in the world, housing over 3,000 shops, more than just a sightseeing spot. Ever since the 15th century, it has been bustling with activity. Every day, locals and visitors are haggling to get the best bang for their buck. Doesn't make seems San Diego a rather colorless place after this. There it is, one aisle of it. Isn't this fun? Turkish Delight, you can buy all kinds of Turkish Delight. You can get slices from this thing or cubes or boxes of it. I got boxes of it. Does stick to your teeth, but it is good. And Turkish carpets, oh my gosh, so beautiful. So this is a mosque I came across, a beautiful, majestic mosque. And I went in. This couple here is interesting. I don't think it's customary for Turkish women to walk behind their men, But in this case, that's what was happening. But anyway, the mosque is a beautiful mosque. There it is. And here's men praying. And this is men's reason why they don't let women in the mosque, because if men had to watch women praying like that, they would get terribly distracted, presumably. So women sit somewhere else. Here's men standing and praying. I loved going to mosques. Women gossiping, I guess. So again, we stayed in the Sultan on that area. And again, I wandered the streets looking for music. Generally not with Joan, but I found this little cafe where this man was playing beautiful, beautiful violin music. Loved it. You could hear it out in the street, and here's the whole little trio that he had. I'm not sure what this is. Very interesting instrument. And here people are eating and drinking tea and dancing. Tourists probably. Although Turkish women certainly are very modern in that respect. This was one of the boats down the Bosphorus that I took, or like the one I took. This is the Galata Bridge, which is one of the many, I think 3 bridges now over the Bosphorus. But this is the one that fishermen bring their wares to. And there are all these wonderful seafood restaurants on the bridge. It's a lovely place to be, and people fish from the end, and it's wonderful. And that's all, folks. So, so what does everybody have to say? Happy to have you unmute and talk.
That was excellently done. Thank you. And the pictures you took were great. What year was that?
2008, Leonard.
Excellent, excellent. Very interesting.
I know. I'd love to go back. I'd love to stay. I'd love to stay there. I don't know. There was a woman here.
I just loved every bit of it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shirley. Carol, what were you saying?
Yes, you reminded me that we were also in Ephesus, and I was so impressed by that. I loved it. I like ruins.
Yeah, ruins are nice.
Anyone you know?
I'd rather be in a carpet store myself.
Faye,
Or eating
Faye.
ice cream. Yes, Dory.
Wonderful talk.
Faye, thank you. When we were in Istanbul, we saw the Mozart, what's the famous Mozart opera? The
Later
most
Mouse?
Marriage of Seville? No.
No.
Later Mouse?
Barbara of Seville. Marriage of Figaro. No. Anyway, you
Oh.
saw an
The
opera.
abduction from the Seraglio.
Oh, yeah, that's another one.
You obviously ate all the local food. Was that ever a
Oh,
problem?
yes.
Oh, it's delicious. It's the best food ever.
Yes.
I've never had such food, such good food.
Yes. Definitely ate all the local food. Absolutely.
The opera with Papageno.
Oh,
It's the magic
that's a
flute.
flute.
Oh, the magic food. Oh, yeah.
It's Later Mouse.
And it was amazing. They were singing in Turkish, or I don't know.
Who's talking? Is that
They did
Sandy?
a wonderful job.
I think everybody who's been in Turkey likes it. Am I wrong? Are there people who don't like it?
It's wonderful. And the fresh fruit and the fresh vegetables are the best in the world.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Ken's saying something, but he's not audible on this thing. Carol, you've been there. I mean, Carolyn, you've been there, haven't you? And look at the painting behind you. Is that Turkey?
No, that's
So if COVID wasn't present, what is the situation for tourists in Turkey?
Well, without COVID, it's wonderful.
Is it?
Oh, I think it's wonderful because there are accommodations of all levels, food plentiful, people friendly, easy to get around, public transportation excellent. What else could you possibly want? Colorful, lots of music. Absolutely wonderful. Would you go, Carol?
Yeah, it's the one country that we have not been to. And when we were interested in going, it was the impression was, or information, that it wasn't safe at that particular point. I don't know if there was unrest and
Well, that unrest business did happen a few years ago.
yeah, that's
And
what
it
it
was-
was.
2013 and 2016.
Yeah, thank
I was there in about 2009, and there was no problem at all.
Yeah,
So you didn't want to get near the Syrian border when I was there. The fighting was in the Syrian border area.
The fighting between Syria and Turkey?
No, but
Oh, fighting in Syria.
in Syria, yeah.
Yeah, with a lot of refugees were coming across the border at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
Faye, did you get anywhere near the Princess Palace, the other side of the Bosphorus? You know,
No,
where
not
there's
really,
a modern
no.
art museum and the
No.
Princess. Yes, I didn't get to do that. I went to the museum, but I didn't get to, because I was picking up a cruise ship there, but I didn't get to the Princess Museum. And I didn't get to that side at all. Except
I went to Top Copy, which I somehow don't have pictures of. This morning before I came here, I found my original pictures, and I got so excited because I have like 5 times more pictures than I showed you today, so I kept adding them. But my next incarnation, I would definitely stay on that side of the Bosphorus. And in fact, Lonely Planet suggested staying on that side because there's more, well, not more things to do, but it's different than Sultanahmet because it's more touristy there because the mosques are there, of course. But I love Sultanahmet.
I love that. We stayed in both places because I read that you should stay in both, but we didn't have enough time, hardly any time in the second.
Antalya, you can see Israel from Antalya.
Oh,
Faye-
really?
Faye, did you get a chance to speak to any people, particularly women, and what their feeling was about the current situation in Turkey?
Well, it's changed. It was much more free, more Western one time.
No, I didn't. I can't say that I specifically talked to women about it, but I don't. Are you suggesting that women are oppressed in Turkey?
Well, they were freer before.
Absolutely.
Before Erdogan?
Yes.
Freer
They-
before
they-
what?
They were much freer. I think they're fairly restricted now.
Oh,
It's much more Muslim oriented now.
that's really interesting. When I was in Egypt, it was the same thing happening, sort of the Muslimization of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And the people I talked to had been there before saying there were many more people who were veiled and robed and covered, and it was a much stricter situation, although still in Egypt and in Turkey, you could wear whatever you wanted to, but
Well, we were there in the mid-90s, in the 1990s, and we were told, somebody came in and was very upset that we were in the mosque because he knew that we were not Muslim. And that was a long time ago.
really, what city was that?
In Istanbul. In the
Oh,
main,
that's terrible.
yeah, I was very surprised. But otherwise, it was the best food and the most fun we've had anywhere on our travels. Wonderful community to be in.
We were there back in the 90s, and we went to several mosques. I had no feeling we weren't welcome out there.
Well,
No,
for some reason,
boy, that's terrible for anybody to say that to you.
Mhm.
I went to the Blue Mosque, and it was very divided, and that was in about 2009. And so the women could go only on this one side, okay, and peek in through little windows, okay, and the whole rest of the mosque was filled with men. Now, it may have been there was a service going on at that moment or something, okay, but literally we were not allowed except in this tiny little area. So
I don't know
think-
why I distinctly remember sitting in the main area on the carpet talking to women, and I don't think that was the women's area, but of course in most mosques women they sit separately from men.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a friend who was part of a pacifistic Turkish organization, and their whole goal was to take people once a year from America to show them the area and tell them how great it was and this and that, and, you know, to get rid of some of the stigma. But that kind of stopped in 2013. And she told me that in that 3 years, 13 to 16, that her family, she couldn't visit her family in the summer. She used to go every year, and women weren't allowed to go outside. Everyone was afraid because my daughter was about to go over there at the time, and I was having a hemorrhage. Okay, so they invited me to a dinner of these Muslim women, and my daughter came, and, you know, they explained all this to her. But my daughter, you know, when you're in your 30s, you know, there's not going to be any problem, right? You think everything's going to be fine, and it's going to be like it is here. So she did go to Turkey, and I was a basket case for 14 months that, you know, something was going to happen to her. But in fact, she kept her mouth shut. She didn't do her liberal thing, which, you know, that age group tends to do, and I tend to do here, you know, and so she came back safe and sound. But yeah, it was very risky for women there then.
Did she feel she was at risk? Andrea, did she feel she was at risk?
Well, she never feels like she's at risk.
No, I wouldn't either.
But in fact, according to my friend and her friends, it was risky, at least for Muslim women there at the time.
No kidding.
Yeah, that was in those 4 years.
Because my trip, if we ever get out of this, and I'm still alive, is to go to Pakistan. And I've been looking at YouTubes of Pakistan, which seems like such a friendly, nice place to be. And the reports are that it's safe to go there, and I would go there without hesitation. And I would go to Turkey without hesitation. But then I'm sort of stupid.
When I was there, there was no problem at all in 2009. There were millions of tourists, and it was wonderful and very gay. But I think things have tightened up since then.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. During the time of the demonstrations, it did seem a little chancy to be out on the streets in like Istanbul or big cities, but I think in the rural areas that we were in. But you know, this Urfa thing, where we were told that if we weren't covered, they would throw stones at us and they would pull our hair. That was a little scary, I must say.
Well, they'll do that in Israel if you go to Mea Sharim, you know, okay, so, you know, it happens all over the world.
Oh, interesting. I never felt that in Syria when I was in Syria. But then I guess, I don't know, wasn't in those parts or something, but I love Syria. I felt very free there and was not covered.
I talked to her a couple days ago, and she thinks that she's going to be open next week. She said
that's Tori. I think she's on the phone. Anybody else? Carol?
Thank you so much. This is amazing. It was such a joy to see your pictures, because you went to places that, you know, I didn't go, and saw things that, you know, most people don't get to see. Thank you.
Well, when I was looking through my pictures this morning, I realized I could show a whole hour on each city that we went to. I just loved it.
If she calls me, I'll call you.
Let's see if we can mute Dory. Anybody else want to talk about Turkey or something else, or how you are, or how you're faring?
What's next? What's next?
Pakistan. Oh, what's next for us?
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to do houseboats.
Oh, okay.
Very interesting, actually. How many kinds of houseboats there are and where they are. This is Ken's idea. And he may even narrate. So I don't know. But anyway, we have a very interesting show on houseboats. And after that, I think we're going to do something on deaf culture. It's also very interesting. Anybody see this movie, The Sound of Metal? It's on Amazon or someplace. Sound of Metal, about deaf culture. That's what inspired us to do something about that. Anyway, this is so much fun to do this every Saturday. And
oh, you're wonderful. I'm so glad you
Thank you very much, Faye.
Thank you, Faye. It's wonderful. I love this.
oh, thank you for being here. Otherwise, we wouldn't have an audience. Dory, I have to ask, you and Linda seem to have the same white flower in your living room in the background.
We do. Linda it's her husband's original acrylic. And he showed it, I don't know, it's been about 3 years now, I guess, and then he arranged for us to get a digital reproduction of it.
Oh my gosh.
And you can't tell the difference. Raphael was extremely talented.
I had no, I mean, I knew he was talented, but I had no idea.
Oh, that thing is just beautiful. And as I said, you literally this digital reproduction, which wasn't expensive, he arranged for us to get it. And I think Gladys Cohn, somebody else got it also. And it's gorgeous. And you can see the difference.
Wow, that's so interesting. I'm glad I asked.
It's an acrylic. I guess that's very difficult to work with. And he did, you know, he was amazingly talented.
Oh my gosh. We have so much talent at the V anyway.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
Yes, Miss Rafe.
Anyway.
Anybody else want to say anything? Anyway, thank you very much for coming. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Bye, everybody. See
Oh,
you
you're
next
wonderful.
week.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.
See you next Saturday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.